my mission to end the silence, the stigma, and the shame about suicide loss, ideation, and mental health. Please, won't you join me?
Suicide Zen Forgiveness, the pod that shares the stories of those affected by suicide. Lost a loved one? Attempted it yourself? Come listen in with your host, Elaine Lindsay. Please note, the Suicide Zen Forgiveness podcast is for education only. Some of this subject matter could be triggering. For those of you that are either grieving or having mental health problems, please call your local suicide hotline or mental health office if you need immediate help. And now, here's your host, Elaine Lindsay.
With us today, and I am honored to introduce you to my guest, Minister Alma Thomas. Alma is someone I met very recently, and I have to tell you, Alma, you made a huge impression on me. I know the audience is going to find our discussion very useful. Without further ado, I am just going to say, Alma, take it away. Start wherever you'd like to.
Hello. I'm excited to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me and letting me be transparent and share my story. First, who I am. You might notice that I'm laying down. It's not because I forgot about this interview or I'm tired. It's because 3 years ago, I suffered a massive stroke, which rendered my right side immobile. So that's why I'm laying down. But a little bit about me. I'm an author. I love children. That is my passion. I love children. For 32 years, I worked as a preschool teacher at Head Start. I'm an author, a motivational speaker, and a mom, 2 children. One who has left us to reign in his heavenly home, and the other one is here taking care of her mom. So that's a little bit about me. My story. Wow, wow, wow. My story is full of bad chapters in my life. I've had some bad chapters. I had some hard balls thrown at me, but in spite of it all, I am still standing and still inspiring and motivating people to live their dream life. As a matter of fact, I call myself the dream igniter because I ignite people to live their dreams. So let's tell you why my life has a purpose. In 2009, as I aforementioned, I had a child. I lost a child. My son died at 18 years old on February 13th, 2009. And on April 17th, 2009 was my son's first birthday in heaven. And I woke up on the morning of April 17th, 2009, and I said, I wonder if my grandma baked my son a cake. I wonder if the angels are singing happy birthday to him. And then I decided that even if they were, that a mom wants to celebrate her child's birthday. And for the last 18 years, I have been making his birthdays special. And I wanted this one to be no different. So on April 17th, 2009, I decided to unalive myself. Not that I wanted to be unalive, but I wanted to be with my son on his first birthday in heaven. And I took a whole bottle of pills and poured them in my hand. And I was about to ingest them. And just as I was about to take all of my high blood pressure pills, I heard a still voice say, "If you do it, you'll never see him again." And I put all the pills back in the bottle and I just screamed out hysterically. And I slept that day away. But that's the day that I realized that I wanted to live and I had to give myself permission to live again and find out how I was gonna live again. How was I gonna survive this? Because on the outside, everybody was saying, "Oh my goodness, you're so strong." I went back to work after a week just because I couldn't stand to be at home.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand to be alone with my thoughts. So I figured if I go back to work, you could be so sad with a room full of children because they bring you joy. And on the outside, everybody thought I was strong. Everybody was telling me things like, he's in a better place. He's not suffering anymore. And I realize all those things now. But then the better place wasn't in heaven. The better place was in his bedroom, doing things that teenagers do, not me wondering what he would have become, but him becoming. And I recall going to church one Sunday morning and with my hands raised, and I couldn't wait for the sermon. I couldn't wait for the altar call. I had to get to the altar like the woman with the issue of blood. I just had to touch the garment of Jesus and let him tell me everything was gonna be all right and how I was gonna get through this because I didn't see in my darkest period how I was going to survive this. And if you know anything about the African American community and church, mental health is a taboo subject because they tell you that it's all in your head, that you have to get over it, it's your imagination, you're not really depression is not really a thing, anxiety is not really a thing, all these mental illnesses. And there's a lot of people walking around in the church with mental illness being labeled that they have demons, spirits, and you become ashamed that you're not like everyone else because everyone else seems to be doing fine, but you're struggling with your spirituality. You're struggling with your life. You're just struggling to wake up in the morning. And I decided on that day that I needed help. It was okay not to be okay, that it's all right if you take your high blood pressure pills. It's okay if you take your diabetes medicine. But when you start talking about taking anxiety medicine and depression medicine, then that has a stigma attached to it. But at that point, I was like the woman with the issue of blood, that I didn't care about legalism and religious standards. I needed to find a way to be able to live through this. And I went to EAP at my job. And even though I knew about the stages of grief from college, but going through the stages of grief is much harder than reading. And I learned that you don't go through grief one step at a time in order. Some days you might feel angry. Why did he leave? And others days you might accept the fact that he's gone. But then the next day you'll wake up and you're back at being angry, or you're back at denial that you're even going through this. But EAP helped me to be able to go through the stages of grief. And then they were like, find a way to honor your son's legacy and concentrate on that. So I decided my son loved education. He was accepted to a pre law program before he passed away. So he loved education. And I was a single parent, which society had already given him a strike. So I started a scholarship in my son's honor for African American boys of single parents, and it would help with them buying their books or whatever. So to date, we've given out 17 scholarships, and I'm gonna start again this year, giving out scholarships because I didn't give them out for the last 2 years. But we'll get to what happened, what I've been doing for
Yeah.
the last 2 years. So then I'm getting over that, and then the apartment complex that I lived in, one apartment caught on fire. Mine didn't burn, but it just suffered water damage or whatever. But all the apartments in that row was condemned. So now I find myself overnight homeless. And that night I stayed with my mom, and then the next day I went down to social service and tried to get them to place me in a motel or hotel that was close to the town that I lived in because I still had a job. And when I went, I don't drive. So when I went there, you had to bring your children with you. You have to bring your stuff because they put you in a taxi right from there and bring you to the place. And so the place that I went was full of bed bugs, and
Oh,
I couldn't even stay there the whole entire night. I had to call my sister to come pick me up, and my daughter and I had to stay in my mom's one bedroom senior citizen apartment until I was able to find something. I got married, thought I had met the perfect man, but he was one way until we got married. And then after the marriage, it was like, who did I marry? And then I noticed that little things would go missing, and then I couldn't find them that day. But close to the after the first, they would reappear again. So I started taking all my electronics to work with me, and I found out that he was a functional crack addict that was in denial. So he didn't want any help. So I couldn't stay in that situation. So I got a divorce. Then in 2021, April 23rd, to be exact, I got up that morning. We were still in the COVID
mhm.
epidemic. Our children had just came back to school. They were only staying in school for 4 hours. So I went to work. I taught that day. I came home and I had a meeting with a group of authors, a group of wannabe authors. And then I laid down about 12 o'clock, and I felt strange, but something clicked in my brain and I couldn't move my leg or whatever. We called the ambulance, And when I made it to the hospital, they told my mom that I was very sick. And the next day, the nurse came to me and said she was calling my family to me because I was breathing at less than 10% and I was gonna be unalive that day. And she asked me if I wanted to hold her to hold my hand, and I said no. And the funny thing is that I have asthma, so whenever I'm having a asthma attack, I struggle to breathe. But I wasn't struggling to breathe, so I didn't even know what they were talking about. I was like 10%. I'm breathing fine, and they're saying I'm barely breathing at all. But I believe that God had me hooked up to his ventilator machine and he was breathing the breath of life in me. And they left me sitting in a chair overnight, expecting me to pass away that night. And I remember I sat in a chair all night. I couldn't reach my bell, so I couldn't ring my bell and tell them I wanted to go back to bed. And nobody came into my room that night.
Oh my
And
God.
then that morning, the nurse tiptoed in and I said, "Hey, y'all left me in this chair all night. I want to get back in my bed." And she looked at me like she was surprised and startled. And they put me in my bed, and a man came and he readjusted the breathing and the oxygen. And in 3 days, I was released from the ICU to a regular room. I stayed in the hospital about 7 weeks, and then I went to the nursing home. Sidebar: if anybody has anyone in the nursing home, or even if you don't have a family member, you live near a nursing home, maybe make it your volunteer, your good deed of the day to go by the nursing home and visit the people. There's some people there that don't have any family and friends and they never get a visitor and they don't treat you so well at the nursing home because I was able to talk and I had family and I went through abuse and misuse in the nursing home. And I'm 60 years old, born in the deep south of Mississippi, and I never was called the N word until I was in a New York nursing home. Take care of your family that's in a nursing home because I spent 2 years there and I seen a lot of things, I heard a lot of things, and none of them were good things. I had some excellent workers personally, but when those good workers was off, the treatment was terrible. But despite all of that, as I aforementioned, I'm an author. So I wrote 2 books before the stroke. And now, after I've had the stroke, I wrote 2 books, one on faith and the other one on surviving a stroke against all odds. And how I know that I have a purpose in my life is that my last 2 books, as I said before, my right side is compromised and I am right handed. But did that stop me from writing my last 2 books? No. With one finger on my telephone, I typed those 2 books because you can't put your purpose on pause. And the cemetery is full of unfulfilled potential and failed dreams and visions. And I didn't want to die with my purpose inside of me. So I didn't let anything stop me. I could be laying here on this bed bitter. You have a choice to be bitter or better. And I chose to be better. I don't embrace the things I can't do anymore, but I accept the things that I can do. I can still talk. I still have my cognitive skills, so I can still inspire and motivate people not to give up on your dreams. If when we're kids, we have lots of dreams. I want to do this and I want to do that. Whatever you dream that you want to do, is to write that book. If it's go back to school, go back to school. Whatever it is, don't give up on your dreams just because you face some obstacles or hurdles. Jump over those hurdles, walk around those obstacles, because I compare my life to that clown in the carnival. That clown that you throw the ball at it really hard and it goes as hard as you can and you're trying to knock it down and the clown goes all the way back, and just before you're ready to claim your grand prize, that sucker jumps back up again. The life has thrown some really hard balls at me, and I went down all the way almost to the ground. But just before the enemy is able to call victory, I jump back up again. In those clowns, they put something that makes the bounce back again every time you throw the ball. God has placed something in me that every time a hard ball is thrown at me, I level almost to the ground, but I bounce back because God has placed in me the bounce back spirit that I bounce back. And that same spirit is in everyone. Don't give up because there's been some bad things in your life. You've had some disappointments. You made some mistakes. You faced some rejection. Life has disappointed you because that's the journey of life. We're not always going to have good days. We're going to have some bad days in there too. Just like there's not always sunny days. There's some rainy days in there because we need the rain. We need to be in the valley sometimes so we can appreciate when we're on the mountain. That there's a plan and a purpose for everything. There's a season. Don't give up in your winter season because spring is just around the corner. Life is like a never ending book. It ends on the day you leave this earth. When you have some bad chapters, you turn the page to a blank page and you start all over again. There's nothing wrong with starting over again. What's the problem is not starting again, just staying down. When you knock down, you just stay down. You just lay down there and wallow in your pity. Woe is me, woe is me. But I chose to live my life to the fullest, to live my best life that I can live in this situation as it is, and take the days as they come, but don't give up because there's no quitting in me. That I have some bad days. Yes, like I said, I wish I could be Superwoman and say that every day I got over it. That's like a blink of an eye. But I went through frustration. I've cried many days. But when I dry up my tears, I say, now what can I do tomorrow to make tomorrow a better day? And the reason why I come on these podcasts laid in my bed is because I want to inspire and motivate other people that if I could do it, you can do it. If you can find a way to live again, do that. Don't give up on yourself. Know that anything that you want to do in life, you can find a way to do it. Like, I could have given up on my writing because it becomes frustrating when you talk and it writes for you because you have to still keep going back because a lot of time it doesn't type what you say, and that was frustrating for me. And I could have given up on my writing or tried to find somebody to ghostwrite for me, but I said I'm not giving up. If I have to type one word an hour, I'm gonna finish these books. I'm gonna finish what I started. And you can finish what you started. You can go and live your best life, the things that you dreamed about in life. I'm reminded of Sarah in the Bible. God had promised her a child that was going to be a blessing to all the nations. And Sarah was really old and past the childbearing years. So she didn't believe that she was going to have that baby. So she tried to help God along by giving her husband her handmaiden to have a baby by. And the 9 months that she was carrying the baby, she was okay. But then when she saw the handmaiden holding her promise, she got upset because she knew that God had promised her that it was going to be her baby, not someone else's baby fathered by her husband. So she was all right until she saw her promise in somebody else's hand. Don't see your promise in somebody else's hand and get upset and jealous because you didn't wait on God and do what God told you to do. Don't give up on your dreams. And if I had just one more thing to say on today, it would be remember when we were children and we used to dare people to do it, dare each other to do things. I dare you to hit that girl. I dare you to throw that ball through that person's yard. And we, because someone dared us, how could we not do it? We've been dared. And today, on May 14th, 2024, I'm daring each and every one of you. Matter of fact, I'm double dog daring you to live your dream life. Don't give up on your dreams because of a few disappointments. Each and every one of us has a purpose for our life. Make sure that you don't die with your purpose inside of you. That's my last bit of advice that I would give to your listeners on today is don't give up on yourself. That you can find a way to make your life better.
Alma, yep, preach. Absolutely. I know the first time Alma and I spoke, I left our meeting, and for the first time in my life, I was totally silent. I had no words. I kept thinking, oh my God, you embody all the things I want to be. You are absolutely no give up, no stopping, absolutely none of that in you. You are this huge light. And I think you need to be in the background of everybody's smartphone saying, "Don't give up. I double dog dare you."
to, to
I,
God
I,
be the glory.
oh, I cannot thank you enough. Your message is so incredibly important. And my heart, I have to be honest, my heart hurts for all that you went through and all that you've had to suffer. But I am thankful for this wonderful person you have become that I believe had to have been there all along to show others what's possible.
Yes, that's my motivation is if I can inspire one person to live again, to give themselves permission, because a lot of people go through things, especially the loss of a child,
Yeah.
and you need to give yourself permission to live again because sometimes you have survivor's guilt that I remember me, I used to say, how am I laughing and joking around when my child is no longer here? So I had to give myself permission. I said, I know he would not want me to give up, that he would want me to continue to live. And really, if he had a choice, he wouldn't come back here because I know where he's at. He's in a beautiful place and he would not come back. But you have to get to that point where you know those things, but when you're hurting, you're a mother first. Despite all the titles and all the things that I have in life, the most important title that I hold is that of a mother. So you think like a mother before you able to accept, okay, he is in a better place. With everything going on in this world today, that he's not going through any of those things. So that's my motivation, is to inspire someone else that even though you might be in the darkest time of your life, that you can go through it. That I'm not going to say it's easy because none of the things that I went through were easy, but it's just like we don't have a choice. When it snows or rains, we have to go through it. So when certain things happen to us in life, we have no choice that it happens, but we can choose how we deal with it. So I would be much, if I wasn't living my best life, then maybe on April 24th 2021, I would have wished that God took me then,
Yeah.
because it's no life just laying feeling sorry for yourself. But when you find something that you can do and you do it, you wake up every morning. Just like I had this interview on my mind, and I woke up, oh, I have another interview today, and it gave me something to look forward to because I was like, oh, who am I going to motivate today to not give up? Who am I going to motivate to look at me laying in the bed and don't feel pity for me? I don't want anybody to feel pity for me because I'm living my best life. But I want you to be inspired and motivated to live your best life too. I just don't want to be living a good life by myself, but I want to bring everybody along with me. So thank you for inviting me on your platform today and allowing me to be transparent because I'm not a I'm not ashamed of where I am, even though a lot of
No.
people say, "Oh, why are you going on podcasts, laying in your bed? Aren't you embarrassed that someone's gonna see you laying down?" No, I want people to see me laying down so that those people who are not laying down and they have all the use of their limbs, that they don't give up on life because they see someone who has some obstacles, who have some things stopping them from doing some things, and there's nothing stopping you but your mind. If we can change our mindset, we can change our life. So it's all in my mindset that I want to live my best life. Thank you.
Not only are you living your best life, you are helping us to live ours. And your words so resonate. We are going to make a point of down below the podcast, you'll find all of Alma's information. You will find links to all of Alma's books and all the ways that you can contact Alma, because I think that's critically important. I cannot thank you enough for today. I am, as I said first, honored. More so now, my heart is full for today. You have inspired me on so many levels. Because I think there's things that, you know what, I have to get off my duff and finish. And I'll let you know about that too. I want to thank Minister Alma Thomas for being with us today. As usual, I'm Elaine Lindsay. This is Suicide Zen Forgiveness. And as I always say, make the very best of your today, every day. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for being here for another inspiring episode of Suicide Zen Forgiveness. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe and download on your favorite service and check out SZF's YouTube channel or Facebook community. If you have the chance to leave a 5-star rating or review, it'd be greatly appreciated. Please refer this to a friend you know who may benefit from the hope and inspiration from our guests. Suicide Zen Forgiveness was brought to you by the following sponsors. Truel Social Media, the digital integration specialists. Let them get you rockin' page 1 in the search results. Canada's keynote humorist Judy Croon, motivational speaker, comedian, author, and stand-up coach at Second City, Judy has been involved for over a decade in the City Street Outreach Program in Toronto. Do you have a story to share? Do you know someone you think would be a great guest? Please go to szf42.com. And for our American listeners, that's szf42.com. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again.